Today's youth is actively driving tomorrow's economic transformation and shaping the industry's future. Today's guest is a mining engineering student at Wits University and the president of Students in Mining Engineering Society, and brings a unique perspective on what it means to be young and ambitious in today's mining landscape. Lloyd Phofu is a mining engineering student at Wits University and the current president of the Students in Mining Engineering Society, SMES. As both a student navigating the academic rigors of mining and a leader representing his peers, he brings a unique perspective on what it means to be young and ambitious in today's mining landscape. Lloyd shares his insights on the evolving face of mining education, how student leaders are bridging the gap between academic theory and industry practice, and how this generation is shaping the industry's future. Lloyd, welcome and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Sure. Yeah. Look, you are at the doorstep of officially stepping into the job market in the industry as a final year mining engineering student. How does that make you feel? And also perhaps just talk to us about your background and how you found yourself in pursuing a career in mining.
Okay, no, for me, firstly, my name is Lloyd Phofu, and most people know me as Upubezi. But let me start with how I came into mining.
Sure.
Right. So how I came into mining actually is that when I was in high school, I wanted to be a mechanical engineer.
Sure.
But what then happened is that I had a conversation with my teacher then, which was my English teacher.
Yeah.
At that time, I was at Highlands North Boys High School.
Sure.
So she then told me about mining. So I became very curious about mining actually.
Yeah.
And I was very interested in geography, which really, so then I was like, let me try mining out. Then once I came to Wits for mining, I applied for mining, I came to Wits, then I fell in love with it from first year. Mainly because of the student organizations there.
Yeah.
So
You're almost done. How does that make you feel, and do you feel ready for the industry?
Ready. I'd like to say 80%.
Sure.
Yes, because we don't know what lies ahead of us. But with what I have currently, I'm a person who likes to use what they have in order to start somewhere. So also, just to answer your question on where I'm from. So I spend most of my time in Hillbrow, but I am from Greytown, and the journey will start. Once we are done this year, we're still pushing, we're still thriving. Yeah. But once we are done, I'm more than excited to go into industry.
Sure.
Yes.
Look, we're celebrating Youth Month, right? What is it about being young in South Africa that is worth celebrating, and really, particularly being in the mining space for you?
Okay, for me, what is worth celebrating is it's the culture we form as the youth. But I think more than most is that as youth, we need to sort of engage more from our perspective, because I believe that the biggest network that you have actually is the youth.
Yeah.
And the youth does not understand that we are our biggest network. We all want to look ahead and forward, that there's this guy you're looking up to, so you want to pursue those people, which is not wrong. But also, if we can create networks amongst each other, I think that's where the power is, because the youth most of the time cries about they want to make change, right? And change sometimes can start from within us, because we want to see a specific future. So we can start it from where we are, so that when we get there, that's the future that we've been planning for. So being a youth in mining is I think that's also my drive to say us as a youth should collaborate more, see each other as a network, because we don't know where we are gonna meet at some point.
Yes.
So yes.
But when you look at the challenges that you guys face as young people in South Africa, you look at your youth unemployment. It's I mean, you look at the first quarter of 2025, it was around 46.1%.
Yes.
When you go back home during your vacation work, and whether you're in Hillbrow or in KZN, and you see young people not at work, not in business, not studying, they're just loitering and just trying to make ends meet somehow. How does that make you feel as a young person, seeing your fellow young people struggling? Yeah.
So at most, I think, coming from Hillbrow most of the time is that it's something that you grow up with. It's something that you come out of. Even when you come back, you do see a lot of youth in the streets, sort of like hopeless. It's, I don't know, but sometimes we need to sort of check what is the problem, because the youth at most comes from broken families, right? Where there's sort of no hope, in our household. So sometimes we have to bring the hope for yourself. Sometimes we need to go back sometimes to these communities and sort of inspire these kids and show them that it is possible. So whoever I get in contact with, for example, if I go back to my community, I try to bring back that spark that is there, because there are so many people I've met that come from disadvantaged backgrounds, but they changed when they got to grade 11.
Sure.
Most of their life, they were not interested in school. These are some of the stories we have, and some of these people have graduated, some are about to graduate. So they found hope at a certain point because they met someone. Sometimes it's just change of environment. So even if, sometimes the environment that affects us the most. So if we can sort of change the environment, and if we can't, sort of bring people who've gone through the same journey to come back and uplift the youth. So that there's I mean, people tend to feel like it's done because of time, right? Time is virtue at most. So there are people now who are currently doing their first year, and they will tell you that maybe they finished school in 2016, but they found hope again and said, let me give it a chance. And then they are back in school again in 2025. So it's a matter of just bringing back that light, mostly in community, so that the youth can then come into play. In terms of unemployment, I don't know, but I think it's a conversation we need to start also from our side as youth. That should we start now looking into going to work for people, or should we start looking into trying to start our own businesses as young people? But we also want the support. Sometimes you need the experience to actually start something. But I think we can start having, because some people have different talents that, I mean, it's as if school is the only pathway. It does help and assist, but we can start projects for people. I mean, there's this friend of mine that I used to have. He was excellent in building technology, coming up with this technological stuff, but he wasn't the greatest academic person. Right? When it comes to school, it's very difficult. But if we have projects in technology, he had the best projects. But that person seemed to die out, because the only thing that we look at is how are your grades, what is happening. So if we can also try and switch and look at talents, what can people do, what can the youth do, and then we can sort of build programs that uplift those who are more creative, and then they can start their own business, tech, and all those kind of things. So also the syllabus that we have, it's another conversation that sometimes our lectures do bring out, that in high school, in primary, you're still learning about how to label a low caste. And so, so how does that help us? How does labeling a low caste help you? But I also see a transition a bit. I see some in primary schools, they are bringing in coding and those kind of problems. Those kind of programs. So I think those can really help in terms of, assisting the youth.
Sure. I actually appreciate the fact that you say you go back into your community and try to bring back hope, Lloyd. And it's beautiful because you're doing it where you are. You're not waiting for yourself to work and have all the money and say, let me rather go and help.
Yes.
What influenced you to do that? Because I think it's something extremely beautiful that I think a lot of us young people can adopt with whatever impact and resources we have. What influenced you to get into doing that?
So for me, I've always been I think it's part of my character that I always like the people who are around me to grow, right? Absolutely. So it's either I'm assisting them to grow, but I always want them to grow. So I've always had a different perspective of society. So in my primary school, I was the head boy. In my high school, I was the deputy head boy. And now we are in leadership, which I think we are going to touch as we move forward. So it's just the passion that I have to see people grow, to see, because I know the struggle. We all come from, there's a point in life where things were tough, even at home. So I came out of that space, so I can relate when I see somebody else. And I always try to uplift, wherever I'm, even in the university space, it may be first years, second years. If I see that you're struggling, I really reach out. Because we sort of, as people, gotten used to, people have to talk. But why do people have, sometimes I can see that, no, this person acts like this. But now their behavior has changed. So I walk up to that person and ask them, are you okay? What is wrong? What are you battling with? So even going into communities, sometimes it may be my young brother's friends, I go to them. Sometimes they look up to you. So sometimes people are afraid to come to you. So I always make means if I see that, okay, there's potential. Sometimes you do see potential in people and you go to them and say, I do see potential in you. And you try to motivate them to say, no, I went through the same journey. Also, people tend to want to look at other people as perfect. So if you have a certain level of success, let's say I went to university, you think everything was smooth sailing. So if I tell you the reality of things, that no, I also struggled, I also went through these. So you begin to resonate and formulate some sense of hope in you and say, oh, the person I thought was perfect is not as perfect as I thought. We're just the same. So it just brings back that spark in people. Yeah.
Sure. Look, we still also have degree holders, also in mining engineering, who are just struggling to make ends meet or even get into employment. When you look at those kind of things, does it give you discomfort and uncertainty about your own future?
I wouldn't say it gives me discomfort, but it is really a sad thing to watch, to see also. But I think sometimes, for me, I'm somebody who plans, right? For even if things don't work out, what do I do, right? So there's nothing wrong putting yourself into a different space, right? For example, I'm into farming. It's one of my passions. So if I come out, there's no degree, there's nothing wrong with me going to a farm and then asking to just volunteer, right? Even if I don't get paid, there's something I'm going to learn. So if you're interested in tech, in whatever you're interested in, there's nothing wrong going to a company, because we all have this philosophy that if I come out, I'm gonna get paid. I'm gonna so you already live in this fantasy, right? So when the fantasy is not achieved, then you tend to go back, because now also the pressure that comes from home, everybody's looking at you, when are you graduating? And everyone is saying you're going to be a mining engineer or whatever space you are in, accounting. Actually, when you don't get a job, then it becomes disheartening, because you feel like you are not living according to people's expectations. But life has hurdles. Everyone starts somewhere. Even some of the people who see great today, they didn't start off as well. But it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish. So I really think people should look into their interest. What are you interested in? For me, it's farming. So I would really go and volunteer. And if something sparks there, then it sparks. But also putting out the post out there, it's not about just sitting down. Don't just sit down and give up. Find something you're interested in, sell. You know, the little things that you are selling, you are building a skill that you don't know where you are gonna use. So the little skills you get will really take you somewhere. So for me, it is disheartening, but we need to do something. We need to be proactive than reactive. You know, as people, we are normally reactive. We wait for something to happen, and
Then
then
you
we're
were
like,
yes,
but
yes.
be proactive. You know, try to plan ahead. We can see the situation. Then put yourself in that situation. What happens if I don't get the degree? What is the plan for me? So I think we should start planning like that and stop living in a fantasy and put ourselves in reality that our country is we know what the condition is. How can we best position ourselves, you know? And then as youth, let's also try attend there are a lot of events that are hosted, business events, youth this, mining this, webinars. Just go there. There's something you can extract from there that you may possibly use in your future. So
Look, Lloyd, we always wonder what it would take to retain young people in the industry. I think you've also seen that people get into their mines 3, 4, 5 years down, or even 2, even a couple of months, they're out. And we want to retain talent. And I think that's our biggest thing. You've been to mines as a vacation student to expose yourself. What is it about the industry that is not attracting young people? And what should we do better to ensure that people come in and stay and want to stay and also want to get other people in? How do we get better in that?
Okay, so my take is that the world is advancing.
Absolutely.
Right? And some industries are the same. So in 1970 they were doing things the same, and in 2025 they're doing things the same, but there's this transition that is happening, right? The same people you are putting into industry at that time is not the same people you are putting into industry. So now I feel like the youth is I don't know, but I don't want to say they're not tough, you know, but I can also say they're not tough at the same time, because we get into industry, we have an expectation, right? I think our youth has a lot of expectations. You know, we think, no, if I come out of here, I have a degree, and you want to start at the top, not understanding that you have to, in any field you're gonna go into, you're gonna start at the bottom. Whether you want to start a business, whatever industry, you are going to have to start at the bottom. So I think we need to also position ourselves, the youth. Also, if people from industry can bring reality to the youth, that you know, it's not, you're not gonna start here. This is where you're gonna start, right? Because I mean, most of the people you meet in mining, I'm here for the money, right? And the money accumulates as the years go by. You don't just start and you are already at the top. Also, we don't have financial advice, right? So, for example, you know, I always say, for me, it's more about the knowledge than it is about the money, because if you get the knowledge, it will make you the money. So, for example, if I get an opportunity, there are some people, one of the conversations is that you get an internship, right? And you've studied for so long, it's not easy. Course is chowing and all of that. So you get into the industry and you are getting 8.7, for example, which is what other people are earning as a graduate. It was in your expectation. But it's an opportunity that other people do not have, right? So take that opportunity to gain experience, right? I know that living costs, it's just that you have an idea of what you want. So there's nothing wrong to come down at a specific time and tell yourself that this is the moment I'm living in. What do I do with the resources that I have? You know, so for example, I always make an example with, you know, back then when people were pursuing education, there was no Google, but they worked with what they have. And if you see them now, they are highly knowledgeable, like they have a lot of knowledge, but we have AI, we have Google, but then we tend to be too comfortable and we're not able to use our own resources. So I think the advantage people had back then is that they learned how to use their resources.
Wow.
While we grow up, most of the times you have everything. You know, you are just comfortable. So when you have limited resources, you don't know what to do. You know, you get frustrated. What should I do? You know, so I think if we put ourselves in a channel that this is where I am right now. What do I do with what I have? Right? There's somebody else out there who doesn't have the degree. There's somebody else who doesn't even have the opportunity you have. So I just say, be humble, right? You know, there's this thing, you know, on TikTok that says, comrades, money will come. So money will come.
Comrades, it will come.
It will come. So money will come. Just don't be in a rush. We tend to be in a race, right? And we normally see it even at academic level that if you fail a year of study, you drown yourself in depression, but not understanding that we are traveling in different lanes, right? So if you're a driver, you focus on your own lane, right? Maybe somebody's in a BMW, you are in your own Toyota Yaris. Obviously, you're not going to travel at the same speed, right? But it's more about your destination and where you are going. So the youth is too much on expectations. It's too much on fantasy, right? While we need to just come back a little bit to reality. What is realistic at the moment? Then you work with what you have, then you build from what you have. So, yeah.
Hi there, I hope you are enjoying the conversation. If you have not yet joined the Mining Insight community, please do so by clicking on the subscribe button. Would love to grow this community with you. Also, we love hearing from you. Drop us a comment and let's keep engaging. Enjoy the rest of the conversation. Sure. Look, having stepped into the industry a bit to do some work and looking at your academic journey, is there a very strong relationship between what you're learning and what you are doing practically at work? Because I think sometimes there might be a very strong mismatch. And you spoke as well about, you know, education in the primary level where you're still naming your locus. Is our education level really preparing us for the industry, looking at what you have seen, having touched both worlds?
Okay, I think in university level, I would like to say maybe because let's say, for example, we have courses like programming where we do we code and all of those kind of things. So we're moving into 4IR and now transitioning to 5IR, right? So we are being prepared to code, to do all these things, but some of the industries we are going to are far behind.
Sure.
You get me? So when you are learning, you have an expectation to say, I'm going to take this coding thing, I'm going to use it in industry. And you get there, they're just like, they are so, they're so back there. So, in some instances, yes, it's advanced, but some things are very relatable, right? For example, I know when they spoke about a center gully, you know, and a raise, you are so lost, right? But when you go into industry now, for example, when I went for vacation work, and I saw what is the sense, then everything just made sense, you know, because most of the time we really go through our journey, our academic journey, not fully understanding how a mine looks like. Because back then, I know there used to be exposure year where you go to the mines for just 1 year. And then you get exposure, then you start your academics. Now we have to imagine a lot of things, right? You need to imagine what is a stope, you need to imagine, you know, block caving and all of those. So I mean, there is a link somewhere and there is a mismatch somewhere. So also, you know, people talk about technology, how can we include technology into the mines? But it really becomes difficult because we still have old mining methods and then we're bringing this new technology. Then how do we then fit it in? So it then comes to say maybe it's a time for us to start our own mining methods. You know, others did it, so let's looking into let me come up with a mining method. I have the tech, what mining method, and how can this tech fit into this mining method? And then we can have these more advanced minds. You know, we do see it in Australia, we do see it in other countries. Maybe then South Africa just has to transition into that, because now it's really difficult, because yes, our education is being updated each and every time. There are minds that use some of the things that we learn, but some of the things we learn them, then we get there, they are not used at all, or there's a bit of resistance if you come to say no, but we can try to do this thing this way, and then they're like, this is how it is. So there is a mismatch, but there's also a click also, at the same time.
So Lloyd, you are serving as the president of SMES. Maybe talk to us about what SMES is about, and really what you've learned so far about leadership, in as much as you leading the organization at WITS.
Okay, so SMES is the Students in Mining Engineering Society at WITS.
Yeah.
So we are a student body. Yeah. That basically tries to bridge the gap between industry and the students, right? To bring the youth and those who are in the youth's future, basically, to try bring them together, for also the youth to understand what is happening, what's currently happening in the industry. So if we do have that, sometimes the youth can also try to prepare for what the future holds, right? Because we need to ask the way from the people that are ahead, that what is happening. So that's what SMES is about at large, but it's also about connecting people. It's also about building a culture, because we understand that the mining industry is a very, very small world, right? So we need to form relationships whilst we're in school, so that it's easier for us when we branch out there. Some people have started companies, and they started companies with people they were in class with.
Sure.
They've started companies with people, maybe somebody was in second year, I'm in fourth year, but we get to industry, we have this common goal, and then that we want to achieve. So it all begins at the student level. So, and just to answer the leadership part of things, how you grow, as a leader more than anything. There's a lot of growth, and my role basically, I'm a person who wants us to connect more than anything, right? So sometimes it looks like we have a culture, but we do not have a culture, right? So we need to build a better culture for our students, not only at WITS, but it also in other institutions. It would be great actually for us and other institutions to come together as mining students, right, to sort of tackle the same problems and understand what exactly are our challenges as students. So I try to empower, I try to sort of bring that thing of Ubuntu within the School of Mining, because sometimes we are too we isolate ourselves most of the time. And so my goal is to try bring a family, right? And in that family, what I always try to preach is, there's this culture of gatekeeping, right? Wanting to keep things to yourself, right? And it doesn't benefit, right? Sometimes you have students who are struggling, right? Course is not doing well, but you have the material, right? And you are sort of now standing in between someone's future. You get me? So let's share these resources, right? Because sometimes people do see your behaviors, but because people are quiet, is that you don't think they don't see. You don't know where we're gonna meet, right? And another philosophy I try to get to them is that life fluctuates. You may be at the top now. You feel like you are academically good and all of that. But once you come out of industry, maybe you do have a bursary for 4 years. And then once you come out of industry, your bursary drops you. And you're looking down on other people. And those people you're looking down on are now in industry and moving forward. So now when they're there, when they look at you, they remember that this is the person that did 1, 2, and 3. So it's more about building a culture, a system that's going to work for us when we get to industry. So that when there's lack of jobs, we look to each other, right? To say, okay, who's available? I can contact this person and they can say no, this, and then we can sort of try to build that family going into industry, because I also hear there's a lot of gatekeeping within industry, but it's just that the systems we're in, right? They sometimes force us to gatekeep because there are certain awards like the best in what. So obviously now you want to be the best, you're going to keep the material to yourself, right? But at most, as just to speak about the students in mining engineering, we really are focused on developing our students, and also mentoring them. So we do have mentorship programs which we run also with our student council in mining. So we do run mentorship programs. We do have programs where we say we are bringing students together to study together or to have a tutoring session, which is what we're currently establishing as the mining minds, right? So the mining minds is just a platform to say, here's a chat room, right? You guys are going to write survey, you guys are going to write underground. So we then bring you together. You guys can study together. If you're struggling with something, you can ask someone, because we are really trying to chase a common goal. There's no need to isolate. Some people isolate and really it goes to the pits because you end up becoming excluded and all of those. So we bring a platform to say, no, we are people, and also for myself, before I am president of the society, I'm a human being. That's what I try to get out to them, that if you're struggling with something, come to me, because before the title is for, when I go in front of people, but I'm not based on titles, right? I'm here to lead the people to a vision that I see for the mining school. So yeah, at most that's what we are about.
So Lloyd, let me tell you, I've seen something so beautiful in your Turner. I think something that's common in the societies is the excitement when we meet, the singing. It's beautiful, beautiful culture. Yes. But what I've seen you do, which I think it's very different, is literally bringing the societies from different organizations. I've seen you with UJ, I've seen you with the University of Pretoria. Yes. You guys almost do everything together now. Yes. What impact is that having, and what are you hoping it does in the industry?
Okay, so I mean, throughout the journey at university, I've had a lot of talks about, if you go to a certain mine, there are vet students there. They are former vet students, so they're gonna only employ people from vets. Or if you go there as a UJ student, you're not gonna be successful. If I go to this company as a vet student, I'm not gonna be successful. So for me, man, it's not about where we are coming from. As I said, we're trying to meet a common goal, right? So let's not suppress each other and be more unified. So I think another thing is that me and the other chairpersons of UJ and UP, we had a common goal. Absolutely. Right? We didn't meet and talk that this is what we want, but it just so happened that we met and then this was our common goal. So we're trying to bring the students together. Sometimes it will take a UJ student and the vet student coming together to kind of bring up something new in the industry, right? There's something that they're learning that we're not learning. There's something that we're learning that they are not learning. So if we bring those worlds together and we become just one, if it was possible, we could have one student body, and then everyone is in that student body, and we have access to each other as students, to have access to each other as students as a whole. I think it will bring a much more greater movement in what we want to do. So we try by all means to bring each other together. So I think there are other projects we're currently speaking about with the other chairpersons that we want to bring into just to change the dynamic a little bit. So we're currently planning those things, and I'm sure they will come forward. Also, we want to plant a seed more than anything. Absolutely. We don't want to be the people who are going to eat those fruits, but we want the people people that come behind us, they must eat the fruits of the seeds that we've planted.
Wow.
So they want to change the dynamic. We are so, as human beings, we like to be monotonous because people travel this way. There's nothing wrong to divert a little bit, and sometimes diversion does bring a little bit of resistance. But if you have a vision, people do not see your visions most of the times as a leader, right? Even most of the leaders, actually, they would tell you that one of the struggles was their vision. People don't see it, but people will see it at a later stage that, oh, that's why this movement was started. So we're really trying to move it, we're really trying to push it, and then bring people together at most, yes.
Look, if you were to share a message with the youth today and also industry leaders, what would you say to them?
My message to them, to the youth and to the industry, we need to interact more. Right? From industry, I think the youth needs more reality of what, if we can get more reality to the youth, and then the youth realizes the reality, then we can innovate and invent from the realities that we are facing in industry. And what I would say to the youth, they shouldn't be scared. Right? If you have an idea, if that's another thing I try to instill in people, that don't be scared to show yourself in any platform, right? Sometimes your idea is what we need to change the game, and you are holding it back. The world wants to transition when you are there sitting with the idea. So it's sometimes a thing of fear, which probably a lot of people struggle with. It might not be the youth, some people in industry, because also the thing, I would say, you are around a certain group of people and you feel small because they have these ideas. Sometimes it just takes that person at the back of the room to say, hey guys, we are missing this, right? So let's give everyone a voice and a fair platform for them to have conversations. So in a group of people, if I'd have conversations, I'd like each and everyone to speak. If you don't speak, I always point you out to say, what do you have in mind? There's no way you're sitting there not thinking. So we can really then bring a change in what we want to do if we do not drown our ideas and what we want to do. So that is my idea, that people shouldn't reserve themselves. Let's work together more than anything, because the industry wants change, the youth wants change. Let's bring each other together, and then we move forward together. So yes.
Sure, Lloyd, this was so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing your insights. And I mean, you are giving us confidence that the future of money is in absolutely capable hands. Thank you so much.
No, thank you very much, and thank you for having me.
Some of the most important mining conversations are happening in lecture halls and student forums across the country. The innovation we heard about today will not wait for tomorrow. It's happening now. So please get involved, whether it's mentoring a student, partnering with universities, or supporting these mining forums. Be part of building tomorrow's mining leaders today. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye and God bless.